edition of Cheers to Careers. I'm Steve Ridinghouse, the Career Outreach Coordinator at the School of Journalism and Mass Communications at KU. Our guest today, Mark Mears, 1984 grad, Chief Growth Officer at Leaf Growth Ventures. Mark, welcome.
Thank you, Steve. Great to be back here. Always good to come back on campus.
I know you've had a fascinating career. I'm looking at your LinkedIn profile. Brand builder, executive leader, author, consultant, speaker. How do you find time to do that all, or do you do that all at once?
That makes me tired just talking about it. No, it's been a labor of love over the years, and as my experiences have grown, the various outlets for expressing those experiences have grown. And so we'll get into the book that I'm writing, which is really a kind of a summary of various lessons that I've learned along the journey. I've had some wonderful mentors, wonderful experiences, great brands to be part of, and it's just been fun coalescing all those with various speaking and consulting, and now a chance to actually be a published author is a nice way to capstone that.
And when you graduated from KU, I know advertising was really what got it all started. I mean, what was your plan when you graduated?
I came to KU because I wanted to be a lawyer. And I had this grandiose idea of what being a lawyer would be like. I'm sure I'd seen all the law shows growing up, and I took debate in high school. So, my mom always said I was a pretty good arguer. And so you can't major in pre-law. And so I asked around and said, well, what would be good preparation for law school? And you hear kind of the usual suspects of history or poli-sci or things of that nature in the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences. And someone said, well, you're going to be doing a lot of reading, a lot of writing, a lot of research, critical thinking, and presentations. And you're going to be doing a lot of that in the School of Journalism. And I thought, well, okay, I will pursue that. Now, at that time, you couldn't literally get into the School of Journalism until you were a junior. So you had to earn your way in by grades. So I got all my what we called 3x3s back in the day, which are now, I think, basics or core curriculum or something of that nature, and dove into the world of journalism, but kind of at that time, there were many different tracks. Right now, there are two major tracks, but there was PR, there was advertising, there was magazine, there was broadcast, there was obviously news and editorial. And I really was fascinated by communications, and specifically marketing communications. So that's how I got into the School of Journalism, is kind of through the back door.
And along the way, I mean, you've worked with some big brands. I think I saw McDonald's, PepsiCo, Pizza Hut, JCPenney, Cheesecake Factory, to name a few.
Yeah.
I mean, what was it like kind of making those transitions from each one of those?
Well, we had to take a step back because I, again, was planning to be a lawyer, but I had the good fortune to have a professor, Dr. Tim Bankston, who in the middle of my senior year said, "Hey, are you sure you want to be a lawyer?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, I'm pretty sure." And thanks for the education, but I'm going to go do this thing. And he really sat me down and gave me some words of advice that I'll never forget. And that's really what got me into marketing. So we'll talk a little bit more about Tim's role in mentorship, but those brands you mentioned, in my wildest dreams, I never would have envisioned that my career would have crossed paths with those great brands. One thing kind of just leads to another. And you set goals, and you reach those goals, and you set higher ones, and then you reach those, and you just keep ratcheting that bar of achievement up, and before you know it, you're in some pretty powerful boardrooms. Yeah. Dealing with some pretty incredible brands and really incredible people that I've been fortunate and blessed to be associated with throughout the course of my career.
And I know you take a lot of pride in kind of aligning your work with your personal brand. I mean, how significant was that, been through your career?
Yeah, I mean, it's the old adage, physician, heal thyself, right? As a brand marketer, you have to understand the power of building brands also applies to your personal brand. And we all have a personal brand, whether we know it or not. Right. And so being able to understand what your purpose is, what is your vision for your personal brand and your career? What's your mission? What do you have to do every day to stack up enough good days to achieve your vision? but really importantly, what are your values? What values are going to be there that are so rock solid that regardless of where the twists and turns of your career take you, that is going to be your foundation. And so you end up taking positions that are a fit with your personal brand and saying no to others that don't fit. And it's hard to do when you need a job and you need money to pay for rent. Boy, it is certainly, it's tough to be able to look yourself in the mirror and say, does this opportunity is it really what I stand for? Or is it just a means to an end? And so I would encourage anyone watching and listening just to really do those fundamental things of understanding what is your purpose and what lights you up, what the vision is you have for your life and your career, what would be your daily mission to get there, and then what values just are fundamental to who you are as a person. And when you align those, just like a brand does, now you know what you stand for. Now you know how you can be unique and differentiated and valuable to an employer, and then continue to do good work and new opportunities will come arise.
And that term cause-related campaigns, when did that really take off? I mean, that probably wasn't a big term when you were just starting your career, was it?
It was not, but like anything, I believe in integrated marketing communications, and I've had the good fortune to teach as an adjunct professor here at KU in the graduate program. And the principles of IMC I learned from Dr. Don Schultz, who was the creator of integrated marketing communications way back in the day at my, what I call my mistress school, Northwestern. I'm a Jayhawk through and through, let me be real honest. But those fundamental principles are about, kind of objective-based communications. What are you trying to accomplish? And so one of those kind of levers, if you will, is what's called, cause marketing or responsibility marketing, things of that nature. And depending on your target audience and what you're trying to accomplish, there's a very real opportunity for reaching your targeted guests in a way or customer in a way that really resonates with their heart. And in doing so, you're able to also impact your internal brand. So most people think of marketing as the external brand. It's the customer or the guest or the communities that you serve, and that's great, and that's what a lot of marketing is. But CMOs today have to be adept at also managing the intricacies of the internal brand, which I believe are as important, if not more so, than the external brand. So if you're able to reach your employees with a cause that is important for them, now they're going to want to work harder, stay longer, be more engaged, and ultimately be more fulfilled and satisfied in the role they have within your company. So it really works both ways, internally and externally.
And as we mentioned, your involvement with Leaf Growth Ventures. I mean, LEAF is an acronym for leadership, engagement, accountability, and fulfillment. So I would assume that kind of really connects with working with a purpose. Yeah,
it's all about that, because what I'll tell you the story, and it's really important for people to understand that when you see someone sitting up here, life is not rosy all the time. And so I was the president of a casual dining restaurant and was recruited from the Cheesecake Factory to help turn the brand around from double-digit negative in sales and to develop, test, and implement a new concept that the parent company could put more capital behind as a growth engine. And so the team and I worked for hours and hours and hours over a couple-year period to turn the brand around and really develop this new concept. And instead of the promise that was made to put new capital in to help grow this enterprise, we were told unceremoniously that, well, we kind of turned things around a little too quickly, and the board wanted to move in a different direction and basically look for strategic alternatives, which means sell it while you can. So the deal closed on a Friday. On Monday, we were supposed to meet with the new ownership and really plot this new future together. 8 o'clock, I had a meeting with the new CEO, and at 8:05, I'm out the door. And it was only 8:05 because I had 4 minutes of questions. It would have been 8:01 otherwise. So I'm driving home thinking, well, so that just happened. And I was living, our family was living in Los Angeles at the time, and this was February 21st, 2013. And about that time, spring starts to emerge. we had a fig tree in our backyard that was barren from the 5 or 6 weeks of winter. We don't get very long winters in LA. And then as I took the dog out that next morning after a fitful night of sleep, as God is my witness, Steve, the sun was coming up over this wall and it hit on that fig tree in the backyard, and there on the end of one branch was this little tiny green sprig of a leaf. It was there I got this epiphany that I took the dog in and started banging out a treatment, went right into my office and said, a leaf is a symbol of rebirth, a symbol of growth. And what can we learn from nature that can help us be better leaders? And so this idea of leaf being not only a symbol of growth and rebirth, or a metaphor, if you will, because all growth happens in a plant through its leaf. And so it also, in my mind's eye, became an acronym, because when I was working on that brand and leading a team, I, at the time, believed in something called the rule of threes. And so it was leadership, engagement, accountability. If we just manage these three things and have a maniacal focus, I used it every week in my weekly emails, and we did voicemails and all sorts of reward and recognition. But we were burning the candle at both ends. We were chasing numbers to chase numbers. We were trying to achieve a vision that was very aspirational, very inspirational, but we were burning ourselves out. And now to be found that not only myself, but my entire team got shown the door with the new management came in and said, we'll take it from here. That's when it hit me that what was missing for me was the F, fulfillment. And that is where it really comes down to you have to have strong leadership. So if you think about a tree, let's think about that fig tree. You have to have a strong root system, right? Like any organization. But you have to have engagement, otherwise you just have a stump. So engagement represents the trunk, the branches, and the system of nourishment. And in Spanish, that literally translates to, savia translates to lifeblood. The lifeblood of any organization is who? It's people, right? And so then if you have that, that's great, but then accountability represents the leaf and the fruit, in this case a fig tree. So that plant only knows how to be a fig tree, and it knows how to create fig leaves, and fruit, which in the form of a fig, is not only good for eating, but it has seeds inside, which we'll talk about in a minute. And then finally, the fulfillment represents the ecosystem. And it's the soil, the sun, the rain, and the photosynthesis that occurs that'll help that fig tree to be the best it can be, to grow the most fruit. Then you have this opportunity, those who do grow the most fruit can scatter the most seeds. And that creates this virtuous cycle of reciprocity that helps others along their growth journey, and in doing so helps make the world better. So this whole leaf concept is really intrinsic to my belief system of how we can see something. I mean, the old can't see the forest through the trees, but we can look at leaves all around us and understand they're a symbol of growth and rebirth, but then they're also leading us to this higher power of fours beyond the rule of three. And that's important because it's a model that's based on four interconnected, think of a four-circle Venn diagram. In the center is purpose. So it's purposeful leadership, purposeful engagement, purposeful accountability, and purposeful fulfillment. And why it's revolutionary, because like a plant, every spring, it has an opportunity for rebirth and growth. And if you were to cut a tree open, and at the end of its life, you would see tree rings representing each year. And so that's the symbol and kind of that metaphor of growth that's behind Leaf Growth Ventures.
No, well said. And speaking of growth, I mean, you touched on the mentor, Tim Bankston, who kind of helped inspire your career early. I know we look forward to this every year. You had the vision to create this mentorship award. I don't know if camera can see that or not. I hope there's not a bad glare. But yeah, it's called the Bankston Faculty Mentor Award. He's a faculty member for 30 years. I know he's an inspiration to you. So can you talk a little bit about the inspiration for this honor? I know we just awarded our latest one, Heather Lorenz, our digital specialist, who's amazing.
Yeah, she is.
She just got it a couple weeks ago, and she does great work with our students.
What a thrill it was to present that to Heather. She was so surprised and so deserving. But as I was standing up there listening to Dean Brill read the description of the award, it goes to someone who best fits Dr. Bankston, or Tim, his penchant for teaching beyond the classroom. And we have a wonderful faculty here at KU. I mean, that's why we're one of the top schools, if not the top school in the country. But teaching beyond the classroom means mentoring and helping students fulfill their true growth potential. So Tim didn't just see me as a student who was taking classes just to get grades to get into a law school. He really took personal attention. And I remember I was doing an assignment one time where I didn't get the grade I thought I deserved, and I set up time to meet with him. I walked into his office. He was ready with my whole project on his desk and a whole page of critiques. And I'm listening to him go through it in detail. And I'm still a bit peeved because I still thought it was pretty good. And he said, and I'll quote, "Mark, I know it was good. It was better than most in the class, but I hold you to a higher standard." So instead of walking out of there with my tail between the legs, I floated out of there on cloud 9, because here was someone who saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. And those words, as well as many others, continue to ring true in my ear and literally helped me along my career journey, and I would not be where I am today without Dr. Bankston and his mentorship. So this award is really meaningful because it wants to lift the bar of mentorship here at the William Allen White School of Journalism and Mass Communications to an even higher level, so it becomes a way to create more value for the degree. You're already going to get a great education at KU and through the school. But now to take it to a higher level where you get that personal attention that really helps you see things in yourself that maybe you didn't see before, and to be able to recognize what is now 9 years of tremendous faculty achievement, and being able to read the submissions from students and past students who are now alumni in support of their nomination, it literally brings tears to your eyes. And it's all because Dr. Bankston had and it's not just me. I think we totaled that he taught over 12,000 students in about 35 years, right? So I got so many emails from people when they found out this had happened and said, "Oh, Mark, thank you, because he was so special to me as well." And I'm so glad that he's being remembered in this way.
In this plaque, we do display this at the Academic Advising Office, and there's a monetary award that I know our faculty truly appreciate. So yeah, thanks for setting this up. And does this notebook have a significance to a Bankston class? Or?
Yeah, it does. And I've been carrying this around, as you can tell. It's well worn, but I like to say that Samson has his hair and Hercules has his strength, and I got my black notebook. And I got this because Tim had mentioned in one class, he was big on creativity, and he said, you know, big ideas are what move businesses. And so you never know when you're going to have one. So you should always keep a notepad nearby in case you have a big idea. So I got this one, I remember early in my career, it came by some probably promotional marketing company, had my name on it. And I remembered him saying that, and so I literally have had this almost every year in my 35, I've lost count how many years I've been doing this thing. I've gone from different companies, and I still remember when I left the Cheesecake Factory. We had this luncheon, and they said goodbye, and they gave me a gift. And it was this beautiful Coach notepad, leather, had my name on it and everything. And they were so proud. They said, "Now, Mark, you can get rid of that old grungy thing you keep, running around." And I didn't have the heart to tell them at that time because I didn't want to look a gift horse in the mouth. But it was like, I think that's in a box somewhere in the basement. This is still what I use every day. And there's been a lot of very big ideas that have come through here. As a matter of fact, the manuscript for my book started in this notebook. So it's a nice way of kind of coming full circle.
And what is the title of the book?
It's called The Purposeful Growth Revolution.
Okay.
And it's basically how fulfilling your life's work can help change the world. And so this idea that we talk about today of the Great Resignation, I prefer to call it the Great Repurposing, because when you think about the word resign, there's a couple different meanings. One is literal. It means you've quit altogether, you've resigned. And the other one is maybe worse. You are resigning yourself to an unsatisfying status quo, and you've quit, but yet you've stayed. And so you're just surviving, you're not thriving. And so this idea of the great repurposing is a chance for us all to take stock in what and who matters most to us, so that we can align that behind what really lights us up, and that we can marry our life's work with everything else we care about in our life, and literally not only grow into our purpose, but in doing so, again, scatter seeds to help make others better, and creating that virtuous cycle of reciprocity, which I actually call paying it backwards.
Right. So is the book, where are you at in the process of the book right now?
It's in editing right
Okay.
now, and I'm reviewing cover designs. So
Okay.
it will be officially launched late summer, early fall, with some pre-sales opportunities probably earlier than that.
Okay.
So it's becoming real.
Definitely have to look for that. You touched on, the great resignation versus great repurposing. Has that, in the last 2 years, I mean, obviously that great resignation really took off, but I do like that concept of great repurposing. I mean, what do you think about the last 2 years? I mean, do you think it's going to eventually settle down and people will still be inspired to work together? Or?
Sure, but in different ways.
Yeah.
I think what really hit home to kind of support this thesis was the Sloan School of Management at MIT did a survey of 34 million people who had left the workforce during the last few years of COVID. And most people said, oh, well, they were probably just staying at home and collecting, government funds, or they're lower level workers who did that. Well, it's not true. It was really in all industry sectors. And the research was eye-opening. It said basically the number one reason that people left the workforce during that time was toxic work environment. And compensation was number 16 on the list. But to just show you that importance of why we need to repurpose is because you think about toxic work environment, and I've worked in some.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, this idea of repurposing has given us all about a 2-year timeout.
Right.
And what it's done is it's shifted the power from the employer to the employee. Mm-hmm. And as the old broadcast news line is, I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore, right? People are basically saying, I have a choice now, and it's not about getting a job, it's about fulfilling my life and my work together. Mm-hmm. And if I have a choice, I choose not to go back to work in a toxic environment. And so why I also call that the great repurposing is that leaders and management have to understand and recognize that they can't lead and manage the old school way of command and control. And so like any major step function change growth in life and in business, usually there's a catalytic event, a war or a famine or a disease or, who knows, an innovation like the smartphone or some other form of major change. And when that happens, we tend to, as a society and as a civilization, not go backwards. We tend to go forward. And then we remember that as a plateau that we've now grown upon. And that's what I mean by step function change growth. So the world of work is going to continue to evolve and grow and change. I don't think you can put the genie back in the bottle.
Right. And before you go, I know we always like to keep the Jayhawks in the family. We have a legacy student, or you have a legacy student. Brianna just graduated, just 2 years ago.
2 years.
I think I just saw she just took a new job.
Yes, she did.
So it looks like her career is really taken off. So what does that mean to you to have a family member follow you at the J School?
I tell you, it's I'm a third generation Jayhawk, and so my dad was a Jayhawk, and his mom and his dad, and then I had an older brother and a younger brother. And I actually have a sister who went to Wichita State, but she's probably the biggest Jayhawk fan of all because she's lived in Kansas City and she's had tickets to all the games. And I'm telling you, the whole family is. And so to have one of my daughters decide that she wanted to follow in that legacy and not only become a Jayhawk, but to then come to the School of Journalism and Mass Communications, it was really, really incredible. And she did a wonderful job of interning at the Alumni Association. She was involved in various activities here in the school as well as there. She worked with Populous as an intern for a couple of years before she got a full-time job, and then just left there to go to a new branding company based in Atlanta, where she gets to work remotely,
Okay, I saw that.
called Matchstick. And so this is another opportunity for her to take everything she's learned from her education, from her internships, as well as the leadership opportunity she was afforded here on campus, and now put it into her career. And then she's getting married to Kendall, a fifth-year architecture student who's graduating in a few weeks. So they're going to be moving together in July to Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so exciting time for her. As you can probably see, I'm pretty proud of the work that she's done, and I believe she won the Dean's Award. I was supposed to carry the banner down the hill for graduation, but
Right.
COVID got in the way of that. But very proud of her and all of her accomplishments.
And I think she was on campus just a couple of weeks ago, I think same time you were, and I think she actually spoke to a class.
She did. David Johnston has many different roles. The guy is a Jayhawk through and through, and he's head of marketing communications at the school or the Alumni Association, but also teaches classes here at KU in the William Allen White School of Journalism and Mass Communication. So she was asked by David, who's been kind of a mentor for her, as Dr. Bengston was for me, to come talk to one of their, his, I guess, final campaigns class, and just talk about what it's like being a couple of years out. And so she did a presentation, and I asked her to send it to me, and I was just in awe because she had done such a wonderful job, so poised and so professional, but she learned all that here.
Right. No, that's great, because I know our students definitely do love to hear from our recent grads. I mean, they love to hear from the experienced ones too, but there's something about the ones just out. How did you get that start? And because that helps a lot. And I forgot to ask you, I know when you were a student, you sent me a great photo. You were involved with the advertising club. What was that experience like?
Well, I was on the Kansan. I was there. Where was an ad club? There was a marketing club, but I was actually on the
ad staff,
marketing
yeah.
and sales staff on the Kansan.
Okay.
And I think I sent you an embarrassing picture of me back in the day.
Was that you with the mustache?
It could have been.
Okay.
It could have been me with the mustache. But no, that's where you get this real world training. And now we have the agency, and now we have, this beautiful facility that we're filming this in, and we didn't have this
Right.
when I was going to school there. So I just love when I come back here to see the newly refurbished, Stover Flint Hall, and all of the technology and all the space and all the wonderful hands-on teaching. And so for Heather, who has literally been instrumental in creating the digital platforms for students to learn and grow on, to have won the Bengston Award a few weeks ago, that's just icing on the cake.
Well, Mark, I truly appreciate your time. I always like to close with a little cheers to careers. Again, it's been fascinating to watch all the work you've done and all you do for KU. Again, thanks. Cheers.
Cheers. My pleasure. Thanks, Steve.
And also, just want to let our viewers know, our listeners know, this is the last episode of Cheers to Careers for the semester. We plan to have a couple for the summer, and then we'll start our weekly schedule like late August, early September. Again, thanks for tuning in.